Okay, so let's take a look at the golf course. So,
Mm.
where would you like to start, my friend? Hardest again?
Yeah,
All right.
always.
So here we go. So here's the hardest. This is hole number 2, and this so you could see there it's a par 4. I'll let it roll a little bit.
510 yards. And again, so I think what's going to make this course tough, again, I think the fairways are pretty wide here, on average. And then I don't think, from what I've been, following on Twitter, a lot of people who have been at the course, starting on Sunday, and they were there yesterday for the practice round. It doesn't sound like this waste area is going to be too big of an issue. I'm hearing that, I'm hearing the balls that go in the waste area are generally not ending up in that vegetation. They're just ending up in the sand. So it's kind of just like hitting out a hard pan sand. So I don't think I don't think this is going to be that tough of a driving course. I think the difficulty is going to be, this is a 510-yard par four. So you're going to have a lot of these guys are going to have 200-yard iron shots into these greens that are just very undulating. If you don't hit the right spot of the green, it's going to kick off and go potentially into a bad spot. And then I think around the green play is going to be tricky as well. So I think that's kind of where this tournament's going to be won and lost.
Okay, so that is the third toughest on the course. That's the second par 4. Now we're going to go to the second toughest. That is going to be a par 5 16th, and this is the only one with a water hazard. So let me see. I got to go all the way down to here.
So this hole, it plays as a par five for the public. It's going to play as a par four this week at 528 yards.
Yeah, so what do you think?
So yeah,
Yeah,
this
because that's
whole
what I had to figure. I was like, well, par 5, wait a second. That's not,
yep
even though we have seen really tough par 5s at U.S.
yeah
Opens before where you're like, man, I mean, even on the par 5, you're lucky to get a par.
yep.
So, okay. So, again, this is the only one with the water hazard, though I don't think that's going to really come into play too much.
No, yeah, I think it's only like 200 yards to clear that. So I mean, again, there's really no water in play on this course. And again, same thing with this hole. I don't think the drive is going to be that hard. It's going to be the second shot coming in from 220 or whatever to a very tough green.
All right, and then the toughest is the sixth par 3. So let me move it all the way back here, and here we go. No, we gotta wait for it to there it is. Par 3, number 6, toughest hole on the course.
240 yards. So I'm hitting. I'm maybe getting my 3-wood there. These guys will be hitting 4 irons or whatever. But again, it's just a long shot into just a difficult green. Where I mean, I think these greens aren't small, but like the playable area on them is small from everything I've been hearing. Right, so like maybe only half of this green you can hit and the ball's going to stay on. The other half of it, if you're on any of the edges, if you're short, if you're long, it's just going to kick off. And especially, I think the course is going to be super firm, super fast. Like you're not going to see balls spinning backward on the green.
No.
They're going to be taking these big hops forward. So it's going to be super tough greens to hit. You're going to miss greens. You're going to have a good short game to survive around here.
And I'm assuming this is where the short hitters are going to have problems on holes like
Yep.
this. Because I don't know how they're going to be able to. Now, look, I don't know. I mean, how often are they going to have the opportunity to have this side of yardage on their tee shot?
Yep.
I don't know how they're going to be able to overcome this, but we'll see. Okay. Now let's go to the easiest. And we're going to start with the third easiest, and that is the par 5 10th. So let me get the par 5 10th going here. Here we go.
And even this is 617 yards. I was listening to a podcast last night from a couple guys who were at the course on Monday, and they were saying for most players this was a 3-shot hole. They were laying up to somewhere between 50 and 100 yards for their third shot. So even the easiest hole, it's not really an eagle opportunity, and you're going to have to hit a good short wedge to have a good look at birdie.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. I wonder, because, well, maybe the easiest is, so we'll get to that because that's the other par 5, regarding whether or not any of these holes you're going to have a chance at an eagle. But let's go to the second easiest. That is the third hole. It's a par 4. So let me move this back here. Okay, here we go.
And this one's interesting too, because I by the way, I spent I spent like 3 hours over the weekend watching most of at least Keimer's final round, his Sunday round at Pinehurst, and on this hole they had the tee box pushed up where a lot of guys were trying to drive this green. So I'm not sure where the tee box will be. Maybe I'm sure they'll change it all 4 days. I think some days you'll see guys laying up probably into this area, but then I think if the tee box is up, you're going to see guys trying to drive this green.
Okay, so again, that is a par 4, and that is the third, and that is the second easiest. Now we're going to go to the easiest on the golf course. This is the fifth. It's a par 5. So here we go with the easiest on the course.
And this is 576. I mean, this is the one I think you'll see guys potentially getting to the green and 2. But again, these greens are so difficult, and you're going to be coming in from 250. Like,
it's going to ricochet off the hole.
Yeah, what are the odds you hold the green? I mean, yeah, you're going to have a lot of guys around the green, but I don't think you're going to have many guys staying on the green and 2. So yeah, I buy this as easiest course. You'll probably see plenty of birdies on this hole, but even on this hole, I don't think you're going to see a whole bunch of eagles.
Yeah, we'll find. That's the thing to look. That's definitely the thing to keep an eye on when you're checking out the early tee times. If you're checking out in the morning and you see, okay, let me find who's one of the hardest hitters here early in the morning, and then see what they do. See how they play these easy holes and whether or not they go for it or not. And if they do, what happens? Because that's exactly what the players are going to do, especially the ones that are teeing off in the afternoon. They're going to be checking out everything that's going on and how these players are going to react to these holes. So, all right. So there you go. Those are the 3 easiest and the 3 toughest holes on the golf course. Let's go ahead and get into our picks. So I'm going to pop up the picks here, starting with your first pick. Oh, let me just make sure. I think we're done with this. Pop the odds up here. We'll eventually get to that, but let's go ahead and go over your picks. Number 1, Colin Morikawa at 16-1, and you're going to put almost half of your money, $100 on Colin Morikawa this week, and of course, this is a really good play based on his form. Nobody is playing better right now as far as a top player in form that hasn't won this year. And so he's got all that going for him. And he's also third at the Masters, fourth at the PGA, 6 straight top 20s, 4 top 5s, and a runner-up last week. The only thing I'm concerned about with Morikawa, and if you didn't take him, I probably would have taken him. The only thing I'm concerned with, which I think should be a concern, is his putting. And we saw that again on Sunday. Matter of fact, just when I think it was Nance, just when Nance started talking about his putting doing well in the front 9, he jinxed him because he couldn't make a putt. The back 9, he had like 3 opportunities to tie Scotty. He couldn't bury any of them, and obviously he eventually lost and did again what we've been talking about, Jared. It's frustrating this season not seeing somebody go up against Scotty and put it together and beat him. And just have a really good round with him, maybe in the final pairing. Nobody's been able to do that so far this year.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think Scotty he obviously played well enough to win, but he was not like untouchable on Sunday. He made some mistakes. He didn't make many putts either. I mean, the difference was 16, the par 3, right, where they both kind of hit subpar tee shots. They both hit bad second shots.
Yes.
And then Colin missed his putt. Scotty made his. That was kind of the difference. But yeah, I mean, I think like you said, to me, outside of Scheffler, I think Morikawa was playing the best golf of anyone. I think he's the second most likely player to win this tournament behind Scheffler. I'd put Morikawa ahead of Xander and Rory. And I think, to me, so I do have putting concerns with Morikawa, and it's not because of last week. It's because these are Bermuda greens, and those tend to be his worst putting surfaces. He is 134th in putting on these surfaces over the past couple of years. So that's my big concern. Otherwise, I think, I love that his short game has been so good this year. That's the biggest improvement he's made this year. Is he used to be kind of an average to below average around the green player. He's been really good around the greens this season. His iron play has come back to life the past 2 weeks. He gained 4.1 strokes on approach at Charles Schwab, gained 5.1 strokes on approach last week at Memorial. He's an accurate driver. The distance at the U.S. Open has not been an issue for Morikawa. He's 10th in strokes gained per round at the U.S. Open over the last 5 years. That includes a 4th, a 5th, and a 14th place finish in his last 3. So despite the fact that he's kind of just an average distance off the tee, that hasn't been an issue for him. I think it's because he's so good with his long irons, which is going to be key this week. So I think Morikawa is trending. He's really done everything but win over the past couple months now.
And the good thing is you're getting like him as the 4th or 5th choice.
Right.
So,
yep.
and he is, again, the hottest next to Scheffler, or again, the hottest who hasn't won yet. So that's important because it's not easy. Scheffler has his major this year. Schauffele has his major this year. Who's the next hottest? It's Morikawa. And Morikawa's won majors. So, he's definitely a good, matter of fact, right now, I believe he is down to 14-1 at Draft Kings, but you could still probably get him around 16-1. On other sports books. Okay, so now let's go to your second choice, and that is going to be a live player, Brooks Koepka, who's at 22-1 here. And again, you're just going to put a whole lot of money into Brooks, and why not? So Brooks does not have the form he had last year, and he's got 2 wins, of course, at the U.S. Open. Won it back-to-back in 17 and 18. Hasn't, again, not just overall, even on live, because he had that one moment on live, but other than that, even on the majors this year, he hasn't really produced. So you're going in on him, though. You like him this week. Why?
I do. I mean, for starters, I think Brooks Koepka 22-1 at any major is a pretty solid bet, just considering his career history at majors. He's a 2-time U.S. Open winner. I like that Brooks shot the round of the day on live on Sunday. He was -7 on Sunday, best round on the course. So I love that for him coming in. More than anything else, though, with Brooks, and again, maybe I have this course wrong. It's going to play different, but to me, I want like conservative golfers on this course that are just going to put it in the fairway, aim for the middle of the green, 2-putt, take your par. Every once in a while, you're going to roll in, a birdie from 25 feet. That's Brooks. He's talked about that. He's talked about in majors, he does not play aggressive. He plays safe golf. He tries to avoid mistakes. I just think that type of golf is going to play really well at Pinehurst. So I think he's a really good fit here. And again, I think the number on him is a pretty nice value.
All right. And then your third and final pick is going to be your long shot pick, Matthew Fitzpatrick, who you're just talking about the form of Brooks coming in on Sunday. Well, Matthew had really done nothing until the Memorial. So it's a good sign, but he's still been very inconsistent this year. But you are getting 45-1, and there's going to be a bunch of those golfers again this week that you're going to somebody. I mean, you got probably 7 or 8 players that are going to be about 35 to 60 or 70-1 that are quality players that if they won a major, you would not be shocked at all. Matter of fact, if they win, you'll be shocked that when you take a look at their odds, you go, how in the world were they 45-1, and Fitzpatrick is one of them.
Yep. And that's largely thanks to Scotty being 3-1. He kind of pushes all these other guys down. I mean, I obviously like that Fitz is coming off the 5th at Memorial last week, and he, like Brooks, Fitz tied for the low round of the day on Sunday at the Memorial. So I like that he's coming in with some momentum. Other than that, though, I mean, he just checks a lot of the boxes for stuff I'm looking for this week. Fitz is 11th in strokes gained per round at the U.S. Open over the last 5 years. It obviously includes his win at Brookline in 2022. He's 27th in that ball striking on firm and fast courses. He's 18th best in this field on difficult courses. He's the 27th best putter on these greens. So he just kind of does everything well that I'm looking for. And Fitzpatrick's another guy who, the tougher the golf course, the more I like him. He's a guy that's just going to, make a bunch of pars, avoid big numbers. So I think this is a good fit for his game.
Yeah, it's very surprising that after he gained some yardage, which was the year he won the U.S. Open, it didn't translate. It's like you expected after the U.S. Open win that we would see several more wins since then, and we haven't. But again, this is what we've been talking about this whole season, is how many quality players have not been winning. It's just amazing. So, all right, let's take a look at my picks. We're going to start first of all with my top pick, and that's going to be Victor Hovland at 20-1. So I'm putting half of my money on Hovland. And what it came down to, and again, let's make sure, and again, we've always talked about, you don't necessarily want to go take golfers at a low number, especially at 3-1, and we're never going to play Scotty Scheffler at 3-1 on the show. So if you've never watched this video before, and you're going, well, how do you not have Scotty Scheffler, or how do you not even have Rory McIlroy? It's because their odds are low. I mean, a monkey can take Scotty Scheffler. That's not what you're here for. So obviously, Scotty Scheffler is the favorite for a reason, but when you start taking a look at those next group of players, I think Hovland is a good choice because he's, like we were just talking about Morikawa. Morikawa is now down to 14-1 in some places, 16-1 in others, but Hovland is still sitting at a good number. So he's not one of those top three, Schauffele, McIlroy, or Scheffler, but he's sitting at a good number. He's obviously playing his best golf right now, and he is now at the time where we still don't know if he has what it takes, though. This is probably why he is 20-1, because he's still maybe not there completely yet. But you know his game is now back. Just a matter of whether or not he can put it all together and win his first major.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on Hovland and how I feel about him here, because my concern with Hovland is always the short game, and he's especially struggled on short game on tight lies like this. He's pretty good, short game on these courses with long rough. We kind of saw it last week. He was pretty solid. We saw it at the PGA. He was pretty good out of the long rough, but he struggled on these type of courses. But again, Martin Keimer did not have a good short game coming into the last U.S. Open year. He was well outside the top 100 in around the green rankings for that season, but he figured it out. He did it with his putter. So like if Hovland can do something similar, he can kind of make it work around here. I like that the ball striking numbers all remained really strong last week. He struggled over the weekend. That'd be my concern with Hovland. He was not good on Saturday or Sunday at Memorial, but the ball striking numbers were still fine. It was more a short game and putting that let him down. So I think he's close, and I think, like you said, at 20-1, that's a pretty nice number.
Yeah, and let's remember that last year when he put it all together, what he put together was his short game got manageable. It got okay. Mm-hmm. Sort of like what we've been saying with Scheffler's putting. So all Scheffler has to do is be okay with his putting, and then now he is, and look what's going on. So Hovland only needed to be okay with his short game, and that's what happened last year. And then all of a sudden he decided, I'm going to change things. But now he's starting to play better again. So now that's why I'm thinking, okay, well maybe this is the time. Now look, if I would actually decide do I take Hovland at the U.S. Open or the Open Championship, his credentials and his past history says you take him at the Open Championship. Mm-hmm. So I understand that. But again, you took Morikawa. So if I'm looking for that next group of players, which would include DeChambeau, Hovland, you've got Koepka, Oberg, Rahm's got the injury. That's it. Out of that group, I take Hovland, which is the reason I went with him. So,
yeah, I'm with you. And I think Bryson's tricky for me at this course too. He's obviously been good in both majors so far this season. I do think this course is it's definitely not as good for him as the PGA was. Of course, Bryson kind of surprised by playing so well at the Masters. So he's just another guy, Bryson, though, that I worry about the around the green stuff a little bit for him. And I also think his driver's just not going to be as big of a weapon here as it was at the PGA.
Okay. My second pick, I went ahead and took Cameron Smith. So I went with you took a live, I took a live. And what I like about Cam is his odds. You've got Koepka half the number. So I've got Cam at 40. And I know Cam's not having a great year because he hasn't won yet on live, but he's playing better. He's definitely at the point right now where he can put it all together in 1 week. It wouldn't be a surprise. He was fourth last year at the U.S. Open, one of 2 top 5s. He had a solid showing at the Masters. Did not play well at the PGA. But again, it's been the kind of year it's been for Cam. For me, I wanted to take a live player, and Cam getting 40-1. And the other thing too is, let's keep this in mind. This is so big for the U.S. Open. You really better putt well, because putting is so important. And Cam is still putting awesomely on live. He's the leading putter on live. He's always been a really good putter, and that's another reason why if he can just smoke it with the putter this week, he could definitely be in contention.
Yeah, mean, I think if you were talking about, I don't know, 2021 or 2022 Cam Smith, he'd be no higher than 20-1.
Yes,
I think
true.
in this field. So I think the 40-1 is taking into account the fact that he just hasn't been that good this year on live, which I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that doesn't matter. I do worry that he shot an 80 on Sunday at that last live event, so he doesn't have the best form
Well,
coming in. But like that, I mean, if I could design a course for Cam, like it would be something close to this, right? Because again, the fairways are a bit wider. That's tends to be his issue. You can spray it off the tee, but he might be able to get away with that this week on this course. And then again, around the green game, to me, he is, if not the best around the green game player in the world, he's top 3. And kind of same deal goes for the putter. So he's definitely going to gain strokes around the green and on the greens. It's just as long as he can keep that driver in play, I definitely think he can compete here. And I do think 40 is a good number.
all right, pick number 3, and I went with Thagala at 55-1. And he's not playing like he played earlier in the season, which is why you're getting 55-1. He's sort of been an afterthought, actually. But I did notice that he has improved in all 3 of his trips to the U.S. Open. So he's getting better each time. He was 2 over, 27th last year. 12th at the PGA, so much better than his Masters performance. He has only 1 top 5 in his last 10. And that was the runner-up at the RBC, which is, again, why you're getting the number you're getting. But what I really liked about Thagala, and there's a couple of things that I looked at myself with my stats. I'm going to look at putting, and I'm going to look at the obvious one, strokes gained. And Thagala is really good at both. He's a really good combination in both. He's been like top 10 in strokes gained. Matter of fact, I think he's 5th right now. And he's always been a good putter. He's a good putter. So I think the combination of that, he's under the radar. It's a good number, and I'm looking for value, and I think he's a good value play.
Yeah, I love it. I love Sahith. I like that. I mean, the Sunday at the PGA was kind of ugly, but I like the fact that he was there, right? It's good to get that experience he was in the final group, right? Sunday at a major. So you can kind of see guys take another step forward after that experience. We always talk about Sahith as a spike player. He'll have, he'll miss cuts, but he'll also, have those top 5s, those top 10s, which he's had plenty of so far this season. And a lot of those have come in these tougher elevated events, right? Like API came 6th, Players he was 9th, 2nd at Heritage, another elevated event. And Sahith is weird because I think of him as a good around the green player, and he was in both 2022 and 2023. He hasn't been so far this season, but I still believe in him. If he's off the green and needs to get up and down for a par, I would believe in his chances to get it done.
All right, and then my last pick, my long shot play, is going to be Christian Bezuidenhout, or Bezuidenhout, however you want to pronounce his name, at 110-1. I'm surprised. Matter of fact, I was still getting 150-1 on my sports book yesterday, and I'm kind of surprised about that. This is just name recognition in my mind, which is why he's getting such a good number. But what I like about his game right now, he's got 8 top 30s in his last 9, 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s. He's coming off a very strong 4th at Memorial, so that was really nice to see. He is also coming in similar to Wyndham Clark. He only played here twice, so I like that. He also made a big improvement from his first showing to his second U.S. Open, so that's nice. And he made both cuts, by the way. But the other thing that really I liked about him, because you talked about Fitzpatrick and you went over a whole, like 2 or 3 different like stats and angles. And yeah, you know what? I kind of like that. That's the same thing I feel about Bezuidenhout. If you look at it, because I'm going to try to, again, if I'm just like doing comparisons, Wyndham Clark, if he was 32nd in the world last year when he won, Bezuidenhout was 40th, and there is a trend that we just talked about before, where top 40, the last 14 I believe were all in the top 40. So Bezuidenhout's right there. He's at 40. He's also he's been a very good putter. Okay, underrated. He's a top 10 putter, and he's currently 12th in strokes gained this year. So he's got a nice combo of strokes gained, putting, under the radar, playing well, and if we talked about long shots winning here at the U.S. Open, I can't think of any better long shot if we're going to look at long shots than this player.
Yeah, I have him as the sixth best putter in this field on Bermuda. It's actually his best putting surface. I think he's one of the best around the green players in this field. He's also 25th best on difficult courses, which is pretty nice for a guy you're getting
Okay.
at 110 to one. The challenge for Bez will be that he's a short hitter, so he's going to have a lot of long irons into these greens. But again, I think with his short game, with his putting, he can kind of offset that challenge.
Okay, so those are our picks. Now here's the total breakdown of our picks. So you see, I've got Hovland, Smith, Thigala, Bezuidenhout. Jared's got Morikawa, Koepka, and Fitzpatrick. We wager $100 each week, and you see the amount by each pick.